All right, here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Sunday evening. We are Game 1 Eve, just a couple hours from now. The Knicks will be tipping off in Boston for round 2 of the NBA playoffs, man. Welcome to another edition of Knicks Fan TV's Court Vision. CP the Fanchise. We got analyst extraordinaire Bailey Laio on the other side. How you feeling, man?
Good. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's get right to it. Hey, Knicks have a chance to, get off the schneid here, if you will, having gone 0-4 in the regular season against the Celtics. So let's dig into the film, man, and talk about, hey, what can they do to give themselves a fighting chance here in this series?
Yeah, so let's start on the defensive side of the ball. I'm just going to first start with the play that scares me the most, which is this Porzingis pick and pop.
Yeah.
So here you see Porzingis at the screen, and then Campaign's going to come over, catch and drop, which is how I expect them to play this. You're going to see both go to the ball here with Derek White, and that leaves Porzingis completely wide open, right? And the Celtics do a good job of placing Horford, Brown, Tatum near the baseline. And what that does is if you want to help out, you're really, really far from helping out on this pop, right? So this happened a lot. They like to run this play. They really like to run it against the Knicks, and Porzingis always just seems to have a really good game against us. So it's just a hard play to stop in general.
Yeah.
But there's a couple ways I think the Knicks can try to stop it a little bit more. The first way I'm talking about is probably not what I'm expecting to see in the playoffs, mainly because we haven't seen it during the regular season. And what they can do is they can kind of use Brunson to stop Tatum as a gap defender. So gap defender because he's covering that like gap area between Tatum and Drew Holiday. So when Porzingis does the screen, if you imagine this play out, Cat can kind of stay attached to Porzingis. So you're basically saying, hey, Cat, like your responsibility is just Porzingis. You don't have to help out on the screen. We'll let Brunson help out on the screen. You kind of see it here just because they're in the right positions.
Right.
It's not really a scheme the Knicks do, but if you imagine Cat not following the ball handler and staying attached to Porzingis, you can kind of stop this play that way. I'd be interested if they lean into it. I just don't think they will, just because they haven't really practiced it all year. This is more so what I expect them to do. So this looks exactly like the first play, where Hart's going to follow, Cat's in drop, and then they're just going to execute a late switch. So the late switch is basically you see how the play develops. And if you can't get back and can't recover on this, then Hart's going to go out and guard Porzingis. Now, the benefit of the late switch is you kind of have that period of time to read and react. So like you don't always have to switch, right? Like if the screen's not set well, if you're able to fight over it really well, then just don't switch. No mismatches are created. And then here you see like Cap pointing to Hart, right? Like, hey, I got Derek White now. You can go get Porzingis. Right. The downside of this is it requires a lot of communication and really, really good communication, which truthfully hasn't necessarily been the Knicks' strong suit throughout the season on the defensive side of the ball. Like I'm sure you've seen like some like times when Hart's kind of like not focused or like they're just not really on the same page. So if you're executing this the entire game, you're expecting them to be on the same page every time, which is a little bit difficult. The second part is now you have two mismatches, right?
Yeah.
You have Cat on Derek White. And then you have Porzingis on Hart. Cat makes a good contest here. Derek White hits a good shot. But generally, like I think that's a good defensive scheme to stop that pick and pop. The downside of that against a team like the Celtics is they're very, very talented at reading and reacting. So if your defensive scheme is a late switch, they're just going to have Porzingis roll. And as you see here, right, by the time you realize, hey, we're going to switch, Porzingis is going to be in the paint with a smaller defender on it. Right, so he gets great position here. This is going to be tough. Knicks just have to be really good at swarming, which you're going to see McBride do here. And then they get a turnover out of this, right?
Yeah.
But like this is going to be a tough offensive possession to guard every single time. If it's Porzingis against Hart, kind of just like deep in the post, right? So the last thing that I think works, I would love to see this. And truthfully, like I think the Knicks have to do things a little bit different than what we've seen in the regular season against this team. More than like you just have to execute better. Right. I think like just in terms of how many solutions the Celtics have against the Knicks, I think it's a little tough unless you're trying different things against them. One of which I think is leaning into switching more. So if you see the pick and pop and they do a good job here, just auto switch it, right? And like good contest by Mikal. The benefit of that is if Porzingis goes down in the post, Mikal's in front of him. So you give a little time and a little room for Mikal to like hinder Porzingis' progress versus like he's literally just rolling. Uncontested to the rim, right? So that's how I think they should cover this. I think they're going to do the late switch to begin with. I think I want to see them switch more. And then the second part about the switch is the cat on wing matchup, right? I think I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
Like, I think Cat's fine on the perimeter. And then in terms of every shot the Celtics can get, if like Tatum's ISOing Cat on like 12 plays a game, I don't know. I'm curious what you think. Like, I think that's a win for the Knicks defense if this is like what they're going to.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man. Like, my thing is with these guys, so lethal from 1 through 5, you can't take away everything, right? And so, if at the very least you're forcing them into tough contested twos, I think that's a win. Instead of those back-breaking, momentum-breaking threes that they're so great at, and then like keeping them in a rhythm. You know, then you're up against it. And so, for me, I'm with the switching, man, as often as they can and just living and dying with the results because, as you said, Porzingis creates such a mismatch there, especially with Towns. It's going to be a little bit tricky, man, to defend that if they're not switching that, like, off the rip.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, like, if this is the shot they're getting every single possession, like, I'm happy with that. I think Cat can contest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely take that.
Yeah. So that's one thing I'm going to be looking out for. The other thing I want to just point out is Knicks have gotten a lot better in the later half of the season, not overhelping. And this is one team you cannot overhelp on. They're just so good at ball movement. Like once you're in rotation, they're so good at picking you apart. Now, like obviously you're going to have to help out on certain situations, but being disciplined when it's like Porzingis on Cat, this is not a mismatch. Do not send help. Like, just you have to be disciplined on letting these play out. I would argue it's the same with Derek White, Drew Holiday on Brunson, which you're going to see on this play. Like, this to me, don't help on this. No, like, it's not ideal, but like, just let it rock. Yeah, I honestly think even if it's Jaylen Brown on Brunson, you probably let it go. Like, if you want to send help, sure, but they're just such a dangerous team all around. Like, once you send two. I think like I'd rather kind of like let these mismatches happen if they're going to attack in isolation.
Yeah.
But
I'm with that, man. I like I said, I'd rather the contested twos. Hey, if they make it, hey, better than the threes. The Knicks got outscored by 117 points from 3 in the regular season matchup. They have to do what they have to do to keep this thing close. And so if that means, hey, if we got to give up some of those twos here in exchange for those wide open threes that the Celtics can kill you with, I'll take it, man. I would definitely take that all day, man.
Totally agree. And we've talked about the double big lineup a good amount now on Court Vision. But just one more thing to note against the Celtics specifically is Brown versus Cat, to me, is just one of those mismatches that I'm fine with too. So, like, if they want to bring Porzingis in this play, you can auto-switch this as well. Then you're kind of, like, resetting. It's Mitch on Brown, totally fine with that. Cat on Porzingis, also totally fine with that. But then the Celtics will probably adjust to this by just letting Brown ISO Cat. I'm good with that. Like, if that's, like, how they play their chess pieces during that set, like, that's cool by me. That's how I'm viewing the defense. I genuinely think they have to switch more just to see, like, it's just such a good team once you're in rotation. I think you have to avoid that at all. And that's like what the Magic did, right? Obviously, they have better defenders, but that's what gave the Celtics trouble.
Yeah, no question about it. Now, you know, there's a lot of people who think, myself included, in terms of matching up with the starting 5. Drew Holiday is available. You have to think he's going to play. He did practice today with the Celtics. Do you put Cat on a Drew Holiday? And
interesting.
Then, do you put Cat on a Drew Holiday and then have, you know, you have OG, you have Hart out there defending the Tatum and Porzingis pick and roll if they do that 1-5 pick and roll in that regard? What do you think about quote unquote hiding Karl Anthony-Towns on someone like a Drew Holiday who, with the hamstring injury, may not be looking to do too much in the onset here and may be a little bit immobile?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think that could work. If I had to guess, the Celtics are going to go straight to Porzingis in the post, which that's one of those mismatches that like am a little scared of, and I think you need to help out on
Yeah,
is
yeah,
a deep post touch for Porzingis against any of the wings.
right.
I would try it for sure because I just think in this matchup you have to try everything
Yeah,
and just kind of see how things play out
they're
because
gonna
it's
have
just
to.
making them uncomfortable, right? Making them
Right,
like try different stuff that they don't want to do.
right.
I think that's going to be the name of the series.
Defensively, how much do the Knicks go to the block nest monster here?
I
In
would
terms of double big lineups, there's a question like can Mitch handle the Porzingis pick and pops? Can he handle the spacing
yes.
of the Celtics? What do you think about Mitchell Robinson's role here?
I would if I had my preference, I would start him. I think like
Mm.
that's something that would look interesting to me.
Double big or well, obviously, yeah, double big,
Double
double
big.
big. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't think it'll happen. And I think that's fine that it won't happen either. But to me, like Mitch solves a lot of the defensive problems because then you feel a lot more comfortable switching 1 through 4, even
Right.
switching 1 through 5. But then like where are you gonna hunt Brunson? Where are you gonna hunt Cat? It becomes a lot harder to hunt them with Mitch. And Mitch has a lot of range. He can cover like he can help out from like covering a corner shooter to
That's it.
recovering to like getting a
Protect
block.
the
So
rim.
I think
Yeah.
that solves a lot.
I'm with you 1,000%, man, and I know like yes, offensively, part of the issue is number one, their turnover rate with Mitch in the game is crazy, but I also think that's
Yeah.
because their passes to him have been ridiculous. They should know him by now in terms of how to get him the ball. And then, obviously, how does the spacing impact things with him out there offensively? I'm willing to go for it, man. I think he makes such a tremendous difference defensively. I was looking for him desperately in crunch time against the Pistons. As soon as he comes in, he forces Jalen Duren to box him out, allowing Mikal Bridges free reign for the putback, and then on the defensive end, he forces a tough contested
Yep.
layup by Cade Cunningham. That's the power of Mitch, man. I think they've got to go to him as well. I agree with you, man.
Yeah. And I'm sure they will play him even coming off the bench. So
Yeah,
I'm interested to see how those minutes play out because we didn't have him for the first 3 games either. So
that's right.
I think he's a difference maker. Again, very good team, but I think that's one of the levers we can push more of that we didn't get to see during the regular season.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. Let's go on the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing to note on the offensive side of the ball is the Celtics play their center and drop.
Mm.
And I expect them to do this also during the series. I'm curious whether they'll start blitzing because that gave us trouble when Durant was blitzing Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious if the Celtics will go to it too. But I'm assuming they come out with drop first.
Mm-hmm.
So here you see Cornette and drop. These clips are going to be from the third quarter of Game 3 when they came back from like 20 down.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big things that was happening was Hart was coming up as a screener, and Hart was flipping the angle of the screen. We talked about the Celtics are very, very good at doing that, which kind of gets Cat out of position. But same here, right? It's hard to guard flip screens if you're playing in drop, especially when you have a lead ball handler that's really strong like Brunson. So here you see Hart flip the screen, great pick, and then Brunson gets downhill to a strong hand. Cornette's trying to get over to that side, and you just have a lot of space, right? One thing to notice here is the reason the screen is effective is also because Pritchard is far off of Brunson's body. Sometimes when you see these like bigger guards, like Asar did it, Dyson Daniels has done it, right? When they're like really, really attached to Brunson, sometimes these picks aren't set well also, and they're just like getting over it.
Yeah.
So one way to make screening easier for like Hart, for like Cat, is kind of get the defender off you first if you're Brunson. And then this can happen by like pushing the pace or getting Brunson the ball where he still has a live dribble so he can like jab and get the defender off him. But some of that like walking up where he's literally just being held the whole way up, sometimes it is a little difficult to get these like clean screens. So I think this is another thing too, is like make sure you get these clean screens for him, because if he gets the attack drop with a good screen, it's over. Like that, he's so good in that position. So just one thing to note there as well. And then you're gonna see grid 3. He had like 3 or 4 of these with Hart during that third quarter. So leading into that will be nice. Now that obviously leads us into just Hart.
Right.
I think Hart's the key to the series.
Mm.
And I think he's the key to the series because the Celtics, out of any team that puts their center on Hart, is the most like disrespectful about it. Like they truly are like, I am just not going to guard you. And if you beat us, then good on you. You have to be like the playmaking engine of this team for you guys to beat us. And I think he does have to be that, right?
Yes.
So the way I think that looks within the context of his offense, because like I don't think you're going to see anything drastically different. So like within the context of what the Knicks already do, is let him play out of this like delay action where he's at the top of the key and let him play make. And every time he play makes, these have to be quick decisions. So like the Knicks do this a lot with the split action. Here's their first read, right? Brunson, flare. If you don't see it, then McHale dives. Easy reads. Like he's good at Hart's good at making these plays. And then Brunson and McHale are also good at this. It's not there. Immediately into the dribble handoff.
Right.
So here you see how fast these are. Like he needs to be in a position where he has a ball and he's also making fast decisions, which enables everyone else to attack. So here, this is a great screen, great handoff, and then OG gets an open shot. OG misses this, but like imagine if Drew Holiday went over, this has to flow immediately into like a cat hand.
Yeah.
It just has to be constantly moving, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of like force Porzingis to make decisions too when Hart's the one making all these decisions. Now, if Hart is not on the ball, he needs to be in the dunker spot.
Yes.
He can't be spaced out.
No.
Because they're not going to guard you anywhere on the 3-point line. So they're already in the paint. Like Porzingis, Cornet, they're already going to be in the paint. Hart needs to be dangerous when they're sagging off, right? So this is great awareness. Like he's in the dunker spot. OG drives. You're going to see Hart curl over, finding just space. Once Porzingis tries to contest this, good pass by OG. Like, right? That's how traditional centers play. That's how Hart should play too in this offense. So I think he's the key for me. He has the ability to do so, but it has to look, that part has to look a little different for me for the offense. If the Knicks are going to have like a really, really strong offensive showing against this team.
Great point on Hart. As a non-shooter, well, not to say non-shooter because he's capable, but he's inconsistent, if you will. So as an inconsistent shooter, as we've seen in the Detroit series, they're not going to guard him. But while he's out there, in order to get the most out of Hart, number one, they got to be playing fast with a lot of pace. Off of live rebounds, off of steals, that's how you get Hart really going. But if you're in the half court, they could have him bring the ball up. As you said, they could have him operating out of the pinch post area, give him the ball, maybe run some split action. But like you said, quick decisions so that it's not, oh, we're going to give it to Josh Hart for a wide open three and he's got to take it, or he's going to get the ball with 5 seconds on the clock, where he's probably a better shooter than at any other time on the clock, but still, you got to get him moving. So if that's a dribble handoff, if that's setting a screen, or as you said, being in the dunker spot and making those late cuts, which he's also good at doing, those are some of the ways that Hart can be very impactful in this offense. And look, this is Tibbs' go-to guy. So as he's getting those minutes, those are the things that he's going to have to do to be effective.
Yeah, and Hart's a rhythm player, right? Like he is a streaky shooter, and I've no numbers to back this up, but I bet if he has the ball more, if he's like the one making plays, if he's the one like in actions, like that's where he gains his confidence. Like that's when I bet his shooting also comes back too. And also another point with pace, I know that Brunson always brings the ball up, and then that kind of slows the pace down because he's guarded full court press a lot.
Yeah.
Hart can bring the ball up, not because like he's the best ball handler in the world, but Porzingis is not going to be full court pressing Hart.
That's right.
So you have a clear entire half court to bring the ball up with pace, so Brunson can just set up shop. Like Knicks have actions to get Brunson the ball like when Hart brings it up, so just lean into that a little bit more as well.
Yeah, they did start game one against the Pistons that way, so it'll be interesting to see if they do that again on during game one against the Celtics for sure.
Yeah, and then the last thing I want to touch on offensively is Cat. So Cat, to me, I'm more interested how the Celtics play this. So in game 4, Cat was the biggest part of the Knicks offense, right? You just throw him the ball, let him go to work. When you have a small defender on him like Brown, I don't know who the Celtics will start on him. He's seen Brown, Drew Holiday, and Tatum. So I'm kind of curious who they start on him. But whoever it is, I'm okay running the offense through Cat. Just let him set up shop. The thing is, in game 4, the Celtics played single coverage the entire game against Cat. Now, they did the same thing in games 1 and 3 as well. The thing I'm worried about is in game 2, it was an automatic double. Every time Cat got the ball in the post, they would send Kata, they would send Horford. I forget if Cornell was playing, but they would
Yes.
auto double every time Cat got the ball.
Yes.
Right now, when the Celtics auto double here, the Knicks are not good at helping Cat out. Look at the spacing right now.
Yeah.
So Brunson doesn't really have a passing lane. McBride has no passing lane, and then Mikhail's hiding in the corner. So you're letting Tatum guard both Precious and Mikhail. So if the Celtics are going to auto double Cat, it's going to be a little tough for the Knicks to generate offense just through Cat, because they also haven't really practiced helping Cat out when he gets doubled.
Right.
Not to say it hasn't happened. So if you look at this play, this is a great example of what the spacing should look like. You see Mikhail on the strong side, because Mikhail's on the strong side now. You have a lot more space where Campaign and McBride are. Hart's in the dunker spot. McBride sets this down screen, and then Campaign lifts up.
Yep.
You can actually see that Cat has like vision to Campaign, right?
Yep.
If you get the double, if Cat's like now evaluating and being like, oh, like I can't score here, there's a wide open player to pass to. And that's what happens when you help him out, right?
Yeah.
That's what should happen, because you have an advantage if they're doubling Cat. It's just not something the Knicks have been great at all season. So like, this is something that I'm really keeping an eye on too. I think the Celtics are going to mix it up.
Yes.
I think like maybe one quarter they'll be like, okay, like Tatum guard Cat straight up. That next quarter, boom, we're just gonna send the double and see how you react. So just making sure that you have these like very, very disciplined. Great move by Cat there, but that's just one thing like the Celtics are able to like change up just how they're guarding Cat.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. As you said, Knicks have to help him, man, and get into his passing lanes, and so that means they've got to be locked in and dialed in, especially later in the games when you're physically, mentally exhausted. Like you can't with Brunson the same way. Like they can't just be standing around, waiting for these guys to make a move, because you're just playing right into the Celtics' hands, who are a great half-court defense. What do you think? Because Tibbs is obviously a lot of times he's going with Cat with that second unit. What do you see as like the ideal second unit five, given that the second unit's been struggling like crazy? Well, what do you think is the ideal second unit five when Brunson's on the bench and they're going to that late first, early second quarter lineup?
I want to see Shamet.
Me too.
We haven't seen Shamet for a while. Shamet had a great end of the season, but more so, Shamet is like the archetype of high volume 3-point shooter. And like the Knicks just really don't have that archetype right now.
Yeah.
You also need a creator, which is Campaign right now. I would love Mikhail or Hart or OG even to be more of a creator. Like you can call their number, especially when Brunson's off the court.
Right.
Call the plays that you called for them when Brunson was injured. Let them initiate. Doesn't have to go through Campaign.
Right.
Like he doesn't have to be the one that initiates the offense. But those are some of the things I want to see, especially like with the 3-point volume. I think Shamet's actually going to have a role in this series. Just because if you're down, you're gonna need some volume threes, and there's only one place it really can come from.
With you 1,000%. He's the only volume 3 shooter that they really have off the bench. A la a bootleg DiVincenzo, if you will. But they're gonna need that, right? Like maybe run them down some pin downs and let them get hot and into the flow of things. Like obviously, number one, McBride is struggling like crazy, but with Campaign, he is your only ball handling point guard, if you will. So you have to have him out there, but you don't necessarily have to have him initiating offense, which I don't think he's particularly great at. I would like to see Mikal doing that because outside of Brunson, he is the next best ball handler, shot creator, threat on the court, who can then, number one, get into his bag, into his mid-range game. Maybe you throw some high pick and rolls out there. You get him going downhill. Or utilize him as a playmaker as well. And then maybe you find Campaign for some better shots on some catch and shoots and things of that nature. So I think that would be ideal. But I'm with you, man. Shamet's got to get a look for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And just going back to Cat, the last thing that we've also discussed on the channel is like we want Cat to get deeper post touches. One way to do that is Knicks have a play called wedge roll. So it's McBride will set a screen for Cat. There's a wedge screen, and typically this leads right into Cat setting a screen for ball handler, which is typically Brunson. You can also use this to just have Cat get off the screen and set up shop in the post, which is exactly what you can see on this play. Now, Celtics are switchable, right? And rightfully so. That's why they're a good defense. But there's a difference between posting up Derek White and posting up Jaylen Brown. Like, if it's super switchable, like Celtics would start the matchup with White, they clearly don't, because this is more of an advantage for the Knicks. So you have actions to get this matchup very quickly, use it, get kind of deeper post touch, and let them go to work, right? If they're getting single coverage with Derek White guarding Cat, one dribble, two dribble, right up, right? So getting into fast offense, just running stuff to allow Cat to get deeper post touches, I think is going to be really interesting as well.
Yeah, I'm with you 1,000%. Now, in the Pistons series, at times Tobias would have those advantages where he would push Towns off of his spots and get him further and further out to the three-point line. I'm not so sure the Celtics, maybe Horford, has that strength to do so. Jaylen Brown is dealing with the knee injury. Drew Holiday with the hamstring. I think he should be able to get those deep paint touches if he's not being guarded by guys like an Al Horford. And then he's got to go to work. I'm with you in terms of Josh Hart being an X factor, but to me, their success, Towns has to have monster nights for them to get this thing done. I think Brunson's going to be a constant, but Towns has to have those monster nights. He cannot be checked out, but he's going to be the one that's tested the most, both on defense, as we open the show with, and then offensively, they've got to find those opportunities to have him dominate, man. It's Karl Anthony-Towns.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like everything we talked about, right? It's like the trailing threes. It's like pushing the pace so he gets a center matchup on him. It's letting him get deeper post positions. Like, all of these things do have to be clicking. Towns has to be clicking for the Knicks offense to be clicking as a whole.
Yeah.
And the last thing, because you mentioned Horford on Towns, I think this is something the Knicks have to lean into too, because the Celtics play this double big lineup. Either you'll have like Kornet, Porzingis, Horford, Porzingis, Kornet, Horford. The Celtics actually still don't put a big on Cat in this lineup. So you see Drew Holiday on Cat here. And that just means like one of their bigs is going to be on Mikal. Mikal has to be aggressive. And Brunson has to be aggressive in finding Mikal. And they've been really good at this all year, except for like since Brunson got back from injury. But like Mikal out of the short roll, like Brunson making that pass between defenders, that was a staple earlier on in the season.
Yeah.
With Josh Hart as a roller, with
For
Mikal
sure.
as a roller. But I think this has to be on point as well, especially in this double big lineup. Because this is Mikal's sweet spot, right? This is like mid-range. If you come up, then Hart's wide open. If you don't come up, he loves this shot, right? So I think like that lineup that the Celtics play is interesting. I think Knicks actually have good counters to that lineup, especially if they keep a guard on Cat. But they just have to execute getting Mikal the ball more.
Yeah, there you go, man. And as you see, man, Celtics have no issue with the double big lineup. You see, you got Cleveland with double bigs. I mean, double big. Houston, Steven Adams is being a monster right now with the double bigs.
It's a huge lineup.
Yeah. So, hey, heavy Mitch and Cat double big. But as you said, man, if the Knicks are confronted with that, and if they put two on the ball, that's another way to get Mikal Bridges going. If that's Josh Hart playing the middle, Josh Hart can make from there. Maybe he gets a little floater action going. So they have some options, but execution is definitely going to be the key. Communication, as you said, and trying something different. They're going to have to do something different. And I was on Post Sports with Macri and Dexter, and Dexter was like, "What's the keys to win this series?" I was like, being a team they haven't really been all year.
Yeah.
And like they're just gonna have to kind of be a little bit different. Doesn't mean they can't, but it's gonna require them being a team that they really haven't been this year. It's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out, man.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, man. All right, so today's Sunday. What do you think? We digest 1 and 2 and then come back for 3? What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right, let's do it, man. You can find him on Twitter at Bailey Lau 1, man. This has been another great edition of KFTV's Court Vision. Like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you guys are following Bailey on Twitter, especially, man. And shout out to our sponsors of today's show. Shout out to our guys at Morgan & Morgan. Over $25 billion recovered, 500,000 clients served, and 100 offices and 1,000 lawyers, man. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury attorney. If you've been injured, you deserve to be paid. And the best thing about Morgan & Morgan is that their fee is free unless they win. So go to forthepeople.com/KFTV or dial pound law or pound 529 from your cell phone to get in touch with one of the many lawyers today. Once again, that's forthepeople.com/KFTV or dial pound law from your cell phone. So shout out to our sponsors over there at Morgan & Morgan. And also salute to our friends over at LinkedIn. Shout out to our friends over at LinkedIn, man. If you guys are operating small to medium-sized businesses, man, and you need to make a hire, trust me, LinkedIn is the place to be. Not only can you post your job requirement, and they will find you the qualified candidates that you can get in contact with, but as LinkedIn is a social media platform, if you click on or utilize the hiring hashtag, then it's a notification for your entire network to know that you are hiring, and then you can network from there with your contacts. So it's a great way to find the next top talent. And, hey, if you go to linkedin.com/KFTV, you can post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/KFTV to post your job for free. Very much looking forward to Game 1 on Monday, Cinco de Mayo Monday. So everybody in the tri-state area, meet me at the Ainsworth, man. 5 o'clock for our Cinco de Mayo happy hour Game 1 watch party. We'll be opening at 5, and we'll be at the Ainsworth, man. That's 45 East 33rd Street in New York City. So looking forward to seeing everybody there. We'll have DJ Eric L. Beats on the 1s and 2s. The watch parties have been crazy if you guys haven't been there already. A lot of excitement, a lot of emotions, and free gifts at the end of each quarter, man. So make sure you guys tap in. Bailey, we got to get you down for a watch party, man. When you coming back down to NYC, man?
It won't be this year, but I'll be back in September. So
all right,
I'll be excited to link up.
There we go, man. So maybe next season. But anyway, man, great job. We'll tap in maybe Thursday, Friday or so. So make sure you guys stick with us, man. KFTV Court Vision. We out of here, man. Peace.